These days, lower-end gaming PCs are getting more and more capable. This $400 gaming PC doesn't break the bank, but still manages to get 60 FPS at 1080p in most of the latest games. It features the Ryzen 3 and the RX 570, all for around $400. This is HardwareHub, and let's get right into it. So before we start, I would like to quickly mention I have links to everything in the description, so check those out if you're interested. But with that out of the way, let's get into the build itself. To start it off with the CPU in this PC, we have the AMD Ryzen 3 1200 for $61. This is a great quad-core budget processor from AMD that comes clocked at 3.1 GHz out of the box. This is unlocked, so you can push it to maybe 3.6 or 3.7 GHz to get some nice performance gains. Now I'm not gonna lie, this is not the fanciest, fastest CPU out there, but it will be just enough for playing the latest AAA titles, especially when overclocked, and can easily handle anything that's more than a few years old. Productivity tasks shouldn't be a big issue either, as long as you're not doing heavy duty tasks like maybe 1080p 60 FPS or 4K video editing. For $60, you're getting a very nice entry level package. Now to house the CPU in, we have the ASRock B450M Pro 4-F for $74. This is a very nice motherboard with 4 RAM slots, 4 SATA 6 ports, and 2 M.2 slots. Having this many slots gives you a decent amount of room to expand RAM in the future, and having 2 M.2 slots definitely is nice if you want to expand your storage in the future. Having the AM4 socket means that you will be able to upgrade to the Ryzen 2000 and 3000 series after a couple BIOS updates, which is nice as it gives you a lot of options to upgrade the CPU down the line. The B450 chipset is important to have because it allows you to overclock your CPU. Overclocking is definitely a nice feature to have, especially at a lower budget, because even the smallest performance bump might mean the difference between a playable experience and an unplayable experience. Altogether, this is a nice mid-range motherboard with a decent amount of expandability options. Now to serve as the RAM for this PC, I chose the Patriot Signature 8GB set for $32. This comes clocked at 2666 MHz and is dual channel. High clock speeds and having multi-channel RAM is pretty important these days, especially with AMD Ryzen CPUs, so it's pretty good to go with a kit like this. The 8GB capacity this has is just enough for gaming at 1080p, which is probably what you're going to be doing with this PC. If you do have an extra $25 lying around, I'd highly recommend you go with the 16GB set, which I'll link down below. But for this PC, this RAM kit will serve its needs just fine. Now in this PC, you're going to need something to store all your files without breaking the bank, which is why I went with the Seagate Barracuda 1TB for only $39. This is a SATA 6 drive that spins at 7200 RPM and has 64 MB of cache. This is not the highest end hard drive out there, but it is from a relatively reliable brand, and it will give you decent read and write speeds. Now for around $40, you can also get a 480GB SSD, but with that you're getting half the storage. If you really do want the SSD, I'll link a SSD down below, which you can get instead of this hard drive. But for most people, I think this hard drive will be great because it has a lot of storage, and it does it at a very low price per gigabyte. Now your gaming performance is going to be very dependent on the graphics card you go with, because your graphics card is what renders all of your games, and that's why I decided to go with the XFX RX 570 for $130. This is definitely a great budget 1080p card. This RX 570 comes clocked at 1168 MHz with a boost clock of 1284 MHz. This card also has a nice heatsink and fan, so overclocking at temperatures won't be an issue. XFX puts lifetime warranties on their GPUs, which is nice to know if you're a first time builder, because it means that if you ever have any problems, you'll definitely be backed up by a nice warranty. For the price, you're getting a card that can easily play at 1080p high for under $150. Now to house all these parts, I decided to go with the Rosewill SCM01 for $30. Now the case does not directly impact your game performance, so spending a lot of money on a case does not necessarily make sense if you want something that gives you the best bang for your buck. But even though this is a budget oriented case that doesn't have any major bells and whistles like side panel windows or PSU shrouds, it does have all the features that you need like USB 3 ports, a few drive bays, and a decent amount of fan mounts. Cable management is not going to be very pretty in this, but it will be good enough, and it won't matter that much either because the case doesn't even have a side panel window. This case is perfect for this PC as the outside looks nice and modern, and it comes with all the basics that you need for this PC build. And last but not least, for the power supply, we have a 600 watt EVGA for $40. Power supplies are definitely something you don't want to cheap out on, because if a bad power supply fails, you not only lose a power supply, but it might take some of your other expensive components like your GPU and motherboard along with it. But rest assured, this is definitely a reliable unit, which is shown by its 80+ weight rating, and it's also made by EVGA, which is a very reputable company that uses very good components in their power supplies. This power supply also has two 8-pin connectors, so in the future if you want to upgrade to a beefier GPU, you most likely won't have any issues when it comes to power connectors. As I record this video, I see this for $40 at Best Buy, which is a great price, but if the price goes up or if this PSU goes out of stock after making this video, I will link some alternatives in the description. So while this power supply is not fancy, it does leave room for upgrades and is reliable, which is all you should expect at this price point. Now after seeing all these parts, you're probably wondering, how will this PC perform? One of the latest games, it can play them at 1080p high settings with very nice frame rates. In some of the newer games, you might have to lower settings to get a playable frame rate, but you'll definitely get a very good experience. If you're playing lighter games like League of Legends or Dota 2, you can easily max those out 1080p with very high frame rates, which is definitely a good experience. Altogether, this PC is going to be great for people trying to game at 1080p without breaking the bank. Now if you have any questions about this PC or PC building in general, please leave a comment down below and I'll help you down there. I also want to mention once again I have links to everything in the description, so check those out if you're interested. But yeah guys, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, please dislike this video and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.